I'm HunterX, and today I want to set up a auto resource generator because, well, we're gonna need a lot of resources if we want to make the ATM Star. But currently we can't do that because, well, we have some things that we have to take care of. For one, we're gonna need power, but two, we're gonna need lava. And yes, I said lava. More on that later. I was doing some testing in my test world and I found out that this lava setup is just not good enough for what we need for today, unfortunately, but we have a few problems. One, the setup that I want to make is going to require uranium, and uranium, funny enough, doesn't come from sifting gravel, unfortunately. So raw uranium only comes from crushed deepslate, and crushed deepslate, well, that's a bit of a rabbit hole that I had to go down to figure out how do we get crushed deepslate, and I figured it out and we're in for a treat. So we're gonna have to take care of that first, but I also want to work on something that's gonna help us relatively simply when we're building our auto sieving setup later, and that is going to be a item from Zycraft, actually, funny enough, and it's going to be the balloon on a stick. This is gonna allow me to have temporary-ish flight, and unfortunately, you may have seen we have a little guy upstairs that is currently walking around, and I guess I just looked at my inventory and saw that I have 2 leads, so his life is spared for now, unfortunately. But let's go ahead and grab ourselves some string like so and make ourselves a piece of wool, and I believe the recipe calls for a stripped log. So if I grab a log real quick and I strip it, we should be able to go ahead and hopefully craft this balloon on a stick, and we are able to do that. This is going to allow us to go ahead and fly, and if we fly too far away, it will actually pop, which is really cool. But to get Deepslate, we're gonna need a few things. We're gonna need a encased fan, which a encased fan is gonna need our propeller, which is gonna need this andesite alloy, which luckily I've done quite a bit of work in between episodes, and I got us quite a bit of resources. Yeah, quite a bit is a understatement. Let's go ahead and grab ourselves some andesite like so, and then make ourselves some andesite alloy really quickly like so, and then turn some of that into shafts like so. Now, unfortunately, one of the tricky parts is gonna be getting these plates. I'm really hoping that there's an easy way to make plates, and it does look like we can use the engineer's hammer, which just requires some more iron and some sticks, which, lucky for us, guess what we have? We have the string, and we also have the iron that's going to allow us to make that like so, and then we can go ahead and make ourselves the 4 plates as soon as I grab some more iron. Now, I do got to be careful because I don't want to use all of my iron because yeah, we're going to need a ton of it. We're going to need at least 24 blocks, and that's going to be insane. So let's go ahead and grab ourselves a propeller, and we are going to need a andesite casing, which is going to require, of course, more on the wood side of things. So we'll place that down. Let's go ahead and strip it, and then once we strip it, we can go ahead and slap it with an andesite alloy like so, and then that's going to get us the casing like so, and then that should be everything that we need for the encased fan. And then we're also going to need a quick and dirty water wheel, which is super easy and super duper cheap as well. So what we're going to go ahead and do is come up here, and we're gonna go ahead and place down our fan. And you know what, I kind of want a depot, and that's gonna need another andesite casing. Now, don't worry, everything has a plan today, so let's go ahead and put down the depot like so. And I think I kind of want to use slabs here. What I should do is actually put a crafting table up here, so that way we can go ahead and craft things relatively easily, like slabs. And we're gonna go ahead and place down our slab like so, and so we're gonna put down our encased fan like so, and then behind that will go our water wheel. And I'm thinking we can do something like this. It shouldn't be that bad. And then I'm thinking we can do a quick little dirty little sneaky trick here by doing something like this, and then that should hopefully funnel the water downwards and underneath the base. And once we do that, one of the most important things for this setup to get your Deepslate is going to be this quest right here in the quest book. A head start is going to give you a block of ice, which is going to be used here to get washed into packed ice, and then that packed ice is then going to get placed down over a resource generator. So if we look at this for a second, the packed ice will go on either an extractor or a resource generator, and then with some lava will then make cobbled Deepslate, which can then be smelted into Deepslate, broken down, and then that's how we get our uranium. Hold your horses, I may have found something that might be game changer here. So I was looking at Deepslate, and Deepslate Deepslate can be extracted from the extractor here with magma, packed ice, and lava. But magma needs these magma creams, and I don't think there's any way for us to get it because, well, we would need magma cream, right? Or we would need to combine, you know, slime with blaze powder. And slime can be made in a few ways, you know, with the dough and the lime dye, which we could probably get, or we can also do it for the block version with milk. I thought we had cows, but we don't. But stick with me here. I found out that you can make rice into rice dough, and then the rice slime balls, I believe is what it's called here. And then that, I believe, can turn into your slime block, which can then get us our slime. So how do we get rice? Well, if we can get ourselves some beetroot or red dye like poppies here, we can then turn our wool into some red wool, and then that will then make us a market, and then that market can get us the thing that we need, which is the rice seed. I believe it's 1-to-1, right? Yeah, beautiful. So we can make the market like so. We just need some wood. That's fine. We can get a few of those and make one of those, and boom. Okay, so we have a market now. So this guy with some emeralds will allow me to go ahead and purchase some rice seeds for 1 emerald. Beautiful. And just like that, we now have the magma blocks that we need for this, like so. Now we're gonna need packed ice. Let me go ahead and make that. So all we need to do is grab some water like so, and then come up here. Hopefully we have our ice. Yep, it's on there like so already. Beautiful. Place that down like so. That should start to hopefully blow. You know what? It would actually be smart if you actually put the water down that it requires, and maybe then it would work. Yeah, I'm a smart cookie, I promise. Let's go ahead and place this water down like so, and that's gonna start cooking. Perfect. Now we are gonna need another one of these extractors, so I'm hoping that's not gonna be too difficult for us to make. But once we do that, I think we have everything that we need to make Deepslate. Unfortunately, there was an oversight, and I didn't see that you needed actually the cobbled Deepslate first. So we're back to the original plan of just making the regular generator, so this guy right here, to go ahead and make the cobbled Deepslate. And I think I can set it up in a way where I can then also set this up as well, so it's not going to be a problem technically, but we are going to have to make a spare generator, unfortunately. With Deepslate taken care of, what we can go ahead and do now is make some uranium blocks like so. We're going to need exactly 3 of these bad boys. Perfect. And we're gonna go ahead and set up our next part of this, because we're gonna want to take care of the lava, which is what we're gonna be doing here. And all we need to do is get some clay, and obviously I think I ran out of bone meal growing my rice. Ooh, I'm gonna need a couple of crucibles, but that's gonna go ahead and fix our lava problem, which then we can finally get into some power. I just discovered something amazing. This mod pack has the best fuel, coal pieces, basically baby coal, and it cooks 1 item at a time. Oh, that's so beautiful. Now that we have these porcelain crucibles, we can go ahead and go upstairs and start to set up lava production. Now I was looking at using mechanism cables for this, but yeah, that's not happening at all, because if we look at the universal cables, which we're gonna need for power, they require steel. So that was kind of an oopsie daisy. However, energy pipes, on the other hand, from the pipes mod, is a bit cheaper in terms of price, just needing some redstone and some iron, which is much preferred in this stage of the game anyway. So we're gonna rock with those instead. And I would assume the item pipes as well aren't probably uber expensive either, unless if they have disabled them, which would be an interesting choice to disable them. And as usual, super duper cheap. Okay, just before we can set this up, let's go ahead and make our magmatic dynamos, because that's going to depend on where we're going to put this stuff. So we're going to need some gold. We're going to need some furnaces. We only need 6 of these. So let's go ahead and get that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're gonna need some gold, of course. Now, do I have any spare glass or no? I probably don't. We're gonna go ahead and set this up. So I think what's gonna happen here is we're just gonna hopefully do some silliness, and I'm gonna try and combine the lava setups. Now that was temporary, so I can indeed move that. I do want the hammers and stuff to be here, so I'm kind of thinking maybe we put the power system like here or something. So it's gonna be like something like this, and I think we're gonna run the wires underneath. So yeah, let's put these here, and then that should be fine. And then this is gonna come here like so. Now my only concern is I have it backwards. Is this gonna reach? If this reaches, we'll be okay. Oh yeah, more than reaches. Beautiful. And then we'll turn that on, and I'm hoping and praying to God that that will pull out the right cobblestone out of that drawer, because if it doesn't, we're kind of in trouble here. Because to make the filtered pipe upgrades, it's diamond tiered, which is not really ideal for us, right? And I would rather not spend my diamonds on pipe upgrades right now, because again, we don't have a lot of them, right? We only have so many diamonds, so I would rather spend it on other stuff and not waste it on pipe upgrades. So let's hope that this works the way we want it to. So I was thinking we can do something like this, and that should pull out the cobblestone. 20x, beautiful. Seems like it's more than fast enough. And then I guess we will put down our tank right here like so, and then on top of this is gonna go our whatchamacallit, our dripstone. So let's go ahead and put this here, and then underneath this cobblestone will go the old lava setup, so that way we have double lava setup. This should hopefully be enough. Alrighty, let's go ahead and go set up the power. Now I was looking at the energy cube for storage. However, the energy cube unfortunately has a bit of a problem, and that is going to be that it requires steel, and unfortunately we just do not have steel right now, so that's going to be put on the back burner for now. But all we have to do is connect this bad boy up like so and so, and then all we got to do is make sure that we turn it on like so, and then turn this on as well, and then that should hopefully divide them all equally. And we also can indeed put speed upgrades in this, don't forget, so that's pretty nice. To get everything situated, I am gonna have to move that, but before we do that, let's go downstairs and craft everything that we're gonna need. So we're gonna go ahead and need 6, I believe, hammers. So the hammers are gonna be relatively expensive, actually. This is why I needed all the iron for, right? And we actually do need more glass. Thankfully we have that, you know, just sitting around like so. And we are gonna need 6 diamond hammers, which I believe is 12 diamonds, but I'll just bring 32 just in case. And all we gotta do is hopefully make 6 of these, not 16. That would be insane if we made 16 of them, but there we go. And all we gotta do now is hopefully make 6 hoppers, which shouldn't be too expensive. I believe we're gonna need more hoppers as well moving forward here. There we go, there's one of those. And oh my god, we have to do these one by one. That's kind of not ideal, but sure. And the last thing that we're gonna need here, actually, funny enough, is the flux sieves, which shouldn't be too hard to make at all. Wait, did that need a hammer as well? I was not paying attention. No, it does need 6 more hoppers though, which we are out of iron. Finally, after much more micro crafting later, we can go finally set up this whole setup. So the plan is, what we're gonna go ahead and do is also get ourselves a normal compressed hammer, because we're gonna go ahead and do something really cool with this, and that is going to be configuring how these blocks interact with each other. So to get started here, what we're gonna go ahead and do is place down one of these guys like so, and then let's make sure that this is outputting to this side here by shift right clicking with a normal stone hammer like so. And then we're gonna leave a couple block gap, and then what we're gonna do is place down another one of these like so, shift right click this block like this, and then place another one down, and then do that again, and then place down another drawer like so. And then that should be gravel, sand, and dust once that's all said and done. And then all we have to do is, I guess, run this item pipe down this way. Now, I'm actually a bit curious. Can this export energy to the bottom? Because that would be really useful, actually, if that can indeed export, you know, the power down below itself here. And then all we have to do is run the power like so. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is take some item pipes like so, and like so, and like so, into a sieve like so. And we're going to go ahead and place these guys like so. And then on this side, we're going to go ahead and tell it to go ahead and export all of your items like so. And then we're going to go ahead and place down ourselves a few things. I also just realized something. I made 6 sieves. I only needed 3. So you know what? That's my bad. I wasted a couple resources. At least we're going to have it automated now. So diamond chests like so. And then all we now have to do is get underneath the base and run power to these guys, which is not going to be that hard, I don't think. But there's a reason why I wanted to make that air balloon, because that air balloon is going to give us that ability to go ahead and make cheap and early game flight to get underneath these guys relatively simply. Now, the air balloon isn't going to go too far, but it's going to allow us to get underneath here and actually do the grunt work without worrying about falling into the void. And yes, I fell into the void multiple times. Don't worry, there's forgiving void in this mod pack. So if you're concerned about that, don't worry. You'll just fall and land right back on your platform and probably die because, yeah, you're going to go splat. Okay, now that we have everything that needs to be sifted here, let's go ahead and put down all the stuff in there. And also make sure to make a locking key so that way you can go ahead and lock these drawers so that way nothing else can get inside of them. And all we have to do is run a item pipe from here all the way down here into this guy, into this guy, and into this guy like so. They should hopefully get cobblestone. Oh no, you gotta be kidding. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. It's gonna take out pebbles. Well, to avoid this problem, we can make a little sneaky change to this setup by taking a drawer like so and then locking it with cobblestone so that way it can go ahead and do whatever it needs to do. As long as you don't make it fill up with pebbles, you should be good to go. So let's put this in here by locking it like so, and then you can go ahead and tell it to extract as always, and then that should break down once we get it all powered. Now, to do that, I am going to need to use my little gadget here, the air balloon, and we're going to run some cables down here. I'm hoping that I'm not going to die here. Okay, with everything turned on and everything moved into these guys now the only thing that's left is we have to make meshes for these guys. Now, I'm thinking what I can get away with, because man, this was a rough one, this was a brutal one, is I'm just going to borrow the current meshes I have in my sieves, my manual sieves, which I know that's a problem, but I don't really want to go through and make all those meshes again, because quite honestly, that was a lot of work to get this whole setup up and running just for that. And also, we're not even making the lava here, which is kind of funny, but all I have to do is take this and put some meshes in here, and these guys should start to go ahead and work and get us all of the things that we want. Now, what we could do is set up like compacting upgrades. For example, like for this guy, we can set it up to compact like a bunch of the stuff. I might take a look at making that really quickly. The compacting upgrade from Sophisticated Backpacks mod, there should be a compacting upgrade that we can use to upgrade and compact our stuff. I'm not really sure which one we're going to want here. I think both work here. I think one's for the backpack though, and I'm not sure which one's for the backpack and which one's for the chest. It actually might be a little expensive, to be honest. Unfortunately, I think that is just a little too expensive for us right now, but auto resource generation is up and going, so I might let that run run for a couple hours, get a bunch of resources, and maybe next time we can make the upgrades and maybe even get into some ore processing. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching today's episode. If you did enjoy today's episode of us building this automatic sifting resource generator, I really appreciate if you would leave a like on this video, become a part of the Council of Elder. As always, guys, I'm gonna leave you till next time. We're gonna hopefully be building maybe a auto resource processor with mechanism.